Wasn't even sure I was gonna make this video.
What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to Flexing Financials. My name is Cam. I'm a futures trader, a bodybuilder, and as you can tell by the title of this video, a newly resurrected software engineer. Now, first things first, if you're new around here, I teach people how to build wealth in the stock market in an intuitive way. So if that's something that you like, go ahead and join the family, subscribe. We'd love to have you. Now, I know why you guys are here. You want to know, Cam, why'd you go back to software engineering? You used to hate it. You said that you were done with corporate work forever, blah, 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 blah. And all these things are true. I did say that. And I also did hate software engineering. Actually, not software engineering. I hated Amazon. But in this video, I'm going to address three main things. Why I went back to corporate/software engineering, what I learned from being a full-time trader for over 2 years, and the third thing is what I will do differently when I decide to leave and go back full-time again. Before we jump into the video, make sure you're following me on Instagram at flexin_financials. That's my main platform. I post daily investing and trading tips on there every single day. You don't want to miss out. There's so many gems on there, especially on my stories. If you pay attention to the stories, you're lit. So, why in the world did I go back to software engineering? I hated that career, right? Now, to understand this point in my journey and to understand my decision, you need some context. So, let's briefly rewind to the past, shall we? Now, if you've been following me for a while, you know that I was originally an options seller, right? I was selling cash secured puts and I was selling covered calls against my shares. And I was making a crazy amount of money doing this. I don't know about crazy, but it was definitely a good amount. I had replaced my salary. I was making about $2,000, a little bit more every single week, which was pretty good. I wasn't even a day trader at this point. That didn't happen until about a month or two after leaving my job because my strategy ended up forcing me to pivot due to the stocks that I was in at the time. They were very interest rate sensitive. And if you know anything about what's been going on the past couple of years, the Feds have raised rates and stocks have come down and blah, 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 blah. Right? So because of this, I wasn't only able to take advantage of higher premiums. On top of that, the VIX also came down. It's a lot of stuff that was going on, okay? But the point is I had to switch my strategy, and I wanted a strategy that allowed me to be able to trade the market either direction and be able to capitalize on very short-term moves, which is why I ended up switching to day trading. Now, I'm gonna be transparent. It's what I've always prided this brand on. Am I a profitable day trader? Yes, I am. However, it was not always that way, and I'm not profitable enough yet. What I mean by this is that I'm still scaling up my trading size and my risk amount, which will eventually lead to larger gains, but right now, I'm only averaging about $4,000 to $5,000 a month trading, but my expenses are about $3,500 a month. So obviously, with taxes and just life involved, that's not enough money to sustain over time at this moment. So my reasoning for going back to work was not because I'm a failed day trader or because I gave up and I'm going back to work for the man or anything like that. It's simply a way for me to obtain a large income for the time being to give myself more runway that I can reinvest back into my trading business and into this brand so I can bring you guys great content on a regular basis full time. I like to think of it like an airplane taking off. I'm simply buying myself more runway before I end up taking off and heading into the sky for good. Now, the really great thing about this is, as I said before, I wanted to obtain that larger income to be able to sustain myself and reinvest into my trading business and this brand. And so right now, my current employer is paying me $10,000 a month, and that is on top of my day trading gains of $4,000 to $5,000 a month. So right now, I'm averaging $15,000 a month, which is really good. I'm only 26, that's pretty good. However, just like the first time around when I went in my option selling income to replace my salary, I want the same thing for day trading, right? So once my day trading income is in that $10,000 to $12,000 per month range, that is when I will be comfortable walking away and going full time again. So now we're on to part 2 of the video. What would I do differently and what did I learn through all of this? Honestly, I did a lot of things right, and truthfully, I have no regrets. First of all, I took a leap of faith that most people will never take in their entire lives. People sit around and they're always like, oh, I'm gonna start my own business. I wanna get into real estate. I wanna do X, Y, and Z. But they never actually do it. They just sit around talking about it and they look up, they're 70 years old, and it was just a dream that died. I'm not one of those people. I know that in this country, if you want to get rich in a reasonable amount of time, I'm not talking about the traditional way of like investing in your 401k and waiting till you're 65, but I'm talking about getting rich in a reasonable age, like your 30s, 40s, 20s. The only way to do that is through business, is through selling something, that kind of stuff. And my choice of business, at least in this moment of time, is day trading and content creation, teaching people about finance. On top of this, I left a job where I was stressed out, I was super anxious, I was having panic attacks, all these different things. Like, what person who actually cares about themselves and respect themselves would stay in an environment like that? The next thing that I'm grateful for and that I feel that I did right, and is probably the most important thing on this list, is the fact that I switched to day trading, which is way more lucrative than being an option seller. Yes, the learning curve is way steeper. Yes, it's way harder. And yes, you have to take on more risk than you would as an option seller. However, with all hard things in life and all things that are worth pursuing, they're gonna come with hardship, right? I was willing to go through that pain barrier and actually learn a skill that can make me in potentially unlimited amount of money for the rest of my life. And finally, I learned how to grow and run a profitable business while being able to grow my following tremendously. And there's no way that I would have been able to do that in the conditions that I was working in. Like I said, I had no time, I was super stressed, all of these different things. The minute that I left my job, that's when things started to take off for me as an entrepreneur. However, I definitely learned some things, and there are definitely things that I would do differently if I could go back, and there are going to be things that I will do differently in the future. Number one, I wish that I had thought about and planned a little bit more before leaving my job. Again, I don't have any regrets about the decision that I made, but I think that I could have just planned a little bit more and avoided some of the pitfalls that I had. For example, building up a very large emergency fund instead of having all my money in the stock market. Number two, and of course this one is a little bit unfair because hindsight's always 20/20, but I wish I had sold all of my stocks the day that I had decided that I was going to quit my job, because coincidentally that ended up being the top of the market for at least the stocks that I was invested in. If I had done that, I would have had over $200,000 that I would have made over those 14 months that I was working and investing in the stock market, which would have put me in a great position and given me a very nice nest egg. And finally, the third and definitely most important thing that I would have done differently is being more humble and conservative when it comes to learning how to day trade. At the time, I had known, some decent stuff about day trading, right? Support and resistance. I had just started learning supply and demand, and I was actually a pretty decent swing trader at the time. So of course I took that mentality into day trading, and because of the fact that I had a lot of money, I was going into day trading like swinging for the fences, using like over leveraging, using way too much size with like options and stuff, and I definitely took some pretty big losses, and it took me definitely way too long to just scale my size all the way down to the very bare minimum and just be like, look bro, we need to unlearn all these things. There's still a lot more progress that needs to be made. And so because of that definitely prolonged my learning curve as a day trader and like cut into some of that runway that I had saved up. Instead, I could have easily taken much smaller losses and yet have collected the same lessons that I had to endure over like my first 6 months to a year of actually learning how to be a profitable day trader. So, the most important part of this video is what is going to be my plan the next time around. First of all, my main priority is to stack up 2 full years of expenses and liquid cash, right? So that's outside of the stock market, that's outside of retirement, all these different things, just $100,000 stone cold cash in a high yield savings account. That is my first priority, and that's probably going to take me like 2 years to complete. Number 2, of course, I'm going to continue my day trading journey, but this time around, it's much nicer for a couple of reasons. Number 1, like I mentioned at the beginning of this video, it's giving me that extra runway, having that additional income, a very high income from my job. right? My bills are perfectly covered, so I can be much more selective when it comes to the trades that I take, and I can take my time scaling up and growing my risk that will lead to larger gains in the stock market. The second reason is that I'm not starting over from square one. I've accumulated like 5,000 hours of screen time and experience since I originally left my job and started pursuing day trading. So I have definitely become a much more proficient trader. I know what I'm looking for. I know what my edge is. I have a very nice R multiple, like all of these different things. So this time around, it's gonna be much nicer just being able to scale my position size, which will lead to larger gains over time, and just take my time with it and focus on my process. Like the money will come, it's just my job to show up every day and execute the way that I need to. And the third part of my plan is to keep growing this brand. I kind of took a little bit of a hiatus when I was going back into the market to search for a job and stuff, and I'm just falling off a little bit, like when it comes to making content, but I know that I can get back in that grind mode that I was in like 2021 and 2022 and really get things popping on this channel. And speaking of the channel and helping it grow, make sure to hit the like button if you're finding this video helpful so far. And if you haven't yet, go ahead and subscribe. Like I said, I post daily content on Instagram, and I'm gonna be focusing more on YouTube, so you don't wanna miss any content. And that's it. That's the story of why I'm going back to corporate and why I'm being a software engineer again. Again, no, I'm not a failed trader. No, I did not give up on trading. This is simply just an intermediate step in the larger grand scheme of things. I have no regrets. I learned so much from being a full-time trader and entrepreneur that is just super invaluable advice. Like sometimes people will come up to me and be like, oh, like, do you feel like you missed out on like making like, additional money from like work and stuff? And I always say back to them like, no, not at all, because I gained experience that other people will never have. Like I'm a step ahead of other people in terms of like being a good trader and being an entrepreneur, like having that experience. Like most people either get that experience much later in life or don't ever get that experience. So there's just different ways that you can kind of view things. A lot of people think that everything is binary and everything is black and white, and they try to go down like the path that they've been conditioned to follow their entire lives and that they've seen their parents and their grandparents and their aunts and uncles all go down. But I'm one of those people who had larger plans for myself. I want to be somebody who has the ability to choose, who has the ability to build tremendous wealth in a untraditional way. So, all right, folks, that's it for this video. If you found this video helpful, make sure to hit the like button. It really helps out the channel. And if you like content like this, go ahead and subscribe. We'd love to have you in this family of investors. Like I said, I'm going to be focusing more on YouTube this year and all the years to come, so you definitely don't want to miss any content going forward. If you have any questions, make sure to leave it in the comments. I'll answer every single one, so don't be shy. And remember, take care of yourself, take care of your health, and take care of your wealth. Until next time.